Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. I'm going to talk fast because today's episode got way out of control. I think it's 17 hours long. I'm not sure. But drop me a line if you like it or if you didn't like it, because I got a big idea that I would, especially a lot of my clients and stuff, they want to learn things. I was looking for a mediumship class and I found it. You'll hear about that in a little bit. But I reached out, I left something on Instagram, and I said, if you have a great teacher that somebody can take that online class and you recommend them, send me their name. And I heard from almost everybody. There's a couple of people I didn't hear from or I didn't get a chance to schedule with, but I might have 6 or 8. We got astrology, we got psychic development, we got healing classes, we got ascension classes, we got everything. And I gave each of the teachers 10 minutes to tell me about what they do, and then I shut them right down because that's how I work. When I'm done, I'm done. No, all these wonderful people came on. Some of these classes are so interesting. Well, all of them are. What the heck am I talking about? So please let me know if you like this and you want me to do it again, or if I missed something you would have liked to learn from. But I think I covered a lot of things with this. So stay tuned. Also, those of you listening on YouTube, listen for the website. If you're interested, it'll come up at the end of the 10 minutes. I don't know why my stuff doesn't transfer to YouTube. The show notes don't transfer, but they don't. Maybe there's a future world where they do. And folks, I'm trying to get everyone in the show notes, probably not going to be in the order of the taping. So do what you can. You're on your own. All right, let's get started. Hey, folks, one of my favorite people here, Renee Watts, like the light bulb, you say it like the light bulb, is here too. I think you're starting off the show, Renee. I haven't figured out how I'm shuffling them, but tell everybody your website is rainbowglitterstar.com. Tell everybody what classes you offer or where they can find them.
Yes. So currently I'm teaching astrology through the Haunted Diary Paranormal School. And so it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a paranormal school. It has, Patty Negri teaches there. We also have the Gentleman Psychic and he teaches things. So it's a really nice group of teachers who have a lot of different, modalities that they teach to help you learn about witchcraft and psychic abilities. And I am their astrologer. And so, it's been really fun. I started, I want to say at the end of last year. And what's nice is they're done on Zoom and they're drop-in classes. So if something doesn't interest you, you don't have to pay for it. Don't take the class. And so I kind of just started at the basic fundamentals of astrology. What are the different planets? Because every planet has an archetype. And so that's really the foundation that you need to pull from when you're learning about astrology. Mercury is the planet of communication. And depending on what sign it's placed under, that's going to tell you a lot about how you are as a communicator. And it can help you sort of like identify, where that's a benefit to you. And if you're looking at the shadow of a sign, where you kind of shoot yourself in the foot. And Saturn is our responsibility. So, what do you need to know about setting structure for yourself? And I've kind of just gone through the basics of astrology, and I've grown it from there. And what's nice is that we record every episode, or not every episode. I'm such a podcaster. I think classes are episodes. Every episode. We record every class. And so if there's something that you miss, or if you're not able to make it, you can just watch the recording later. Or, if we've already covered something and you don't feel like you could jump into the class that I'm teaching now, like you can catch up and again, like pick and choose what it is that you want to learn. And it's been a lot of fun because, astrology can be really boring. Yeah, it can be really boring and it can be super overwhelming. And when I started my astrology journey, I started it and I started a podcast at the same time. And the podcast was me in real time learning astrology. And so I've always learned astrology with the idea of how am I going to teach this to other people? How I'm going to make this understandable to other people. And so I think I have it ingrained in me to make the information digestible for people who are just beginning. Mm-hmm. Which was that's what I had a hard time finding when I was learning astrology. Like information or content or classes that I felt like I could connect to, and I didn't feel like I was drowning in data. And
excellent way to say that. Excellent way to say that.
It really, and it takes a long time. And so, I always try to stress to my students, take your time with the information, rewatch the class as many times as you need to. But I only have class every other week. And so when I'm teaching you about the planets, or I'm teaching you about aspects, which is how the planets talk to each other, you have 2 weeks to take that information in. And I have all of my students who choose to volunteer their information. I have all of their charts on file. And so I do use, my students' information as examples. But I also try to, bring a witchy element to it, because I know that there are people who are interested in planetary magic, but they don't necessarily want to, be a working astrologer. And so that's when, I do have just a planetary magic class that talks about the different herbs that are affiliated with each planet. And, if we're looking at just the days of the week, Monday is Moon Day, Tuesday is Mars Day, Wednesday is Mercury, Thursday is Jupiter's Day, Friday is Venus's Day, Saturn is Saturn's Day. And so depending on what type of spell you wanted to cast, you would potentially choose the day of the week that you did it based off of the energy that you're trying to work with. So if it's a Venus spell, a love spell, you're going to work with that planet. You're going to work on a Friday, or when the moon is in a Venus ruled sign, such as Taurus or Libra. Does that make sense?
It does. In fact, this is a very interesting, no wonder everyone likes Fridays.
Yes.
It's really
Friday, I'm in love. Yes. Friday, I'm in love. Yeah.
I love this. I love this other aspect to it. And the other thing I love that you said is that people can drop in and out or take this one or that one, because I tried to start a Vedic astrology class on YouTube, and the guy was a great teacher, but the classes were so long, and you do have to absorb this. But the witchy part is great, because a great astrologer not only knows these things that you're teaching, but they know how to intuitively present the information. You gave me a fantastic astrological reading going over my charts, and you have been the person that sort of discovered two things about me. One of them being that a lot of the paranormal activity around me isn't where I moved, it's me.
Yep. Yeah, and the paranormal activity not respecting your boundaries, because you're like, sometimes you're like, you gotta stop, and it's like almost makes them more active when you're trying to push them out.
And you were so intuitive, and you were kind of like, yeah, I don't think I've really seen this before. All your planets are sort of pointing this way. No wonder that's who you are. So there is so much to learn, and how you present it. So it is great, because people, astrology takes a while.
It does. And that's why I try to break it up with these classes that are fun, because I want them to, I want the people that I teach to be able to put it into practice. And candle magic based off of the herbs affiliated with a planet and the day of the week, that's a great way to integrate that into your practice, or even just your everyday mindfulness. I have Mars candles and Sun and Mercury candles everywhere, all around my room. And depending what I need that day, I light that candle. But I also have a class that I just taught that was really popular that I loved, and it was a psychic astrology class. And it was based off of where your moon sign is, or even your Mercury placement. It kind of gives you information on what type of psychic ability you have. So if your moon was in Taurus, for instance, Taurus is a very materialistic sign, and it's an earth sign. So it has to deal with tangible items, things that we touch. And so if someone's moon or their Mercury was in Taurus, they might be clairsentient, able to pick up information from objects. And like Cancer's empaths, total empaths. And so there's a lot that you can learn about what your specialty is as a magician or as a psychic or an intuitive based off of your chart.
Okay, I'm going to take that class. I think I'm going to end up taking all the classes on this podcast. Quick question about that. So rising sign and moon sign, are they the same thing?
No. So your rising sign, basically, like the rising sign changes every 2 hours. Like basically, it's going to depend on the time that you were born, and your moon sign will too. But your rising sign, this is what's going to sort of kick off which sign is in each house. And if you've ever looked at an astrology wheel, it's crazy looking, but it's broken up into 12 pieces. And so your first house, whichever sign rules that, that's your rising sign. And it's kind of like your rising sign is the mask that you wear when you're meeting people. And so I'm a Capricorn rising, and I have a little bit of a reputation for being kind of stoic, kind of quiet, and kind of like observant before I really put myself out there. But then I have my moon in Aries, which is, how we are emotionally. And it's like sort of like the order in which people get to know us is our rising sign, our mask. Then we take off our mask, we show them our sun sign, our identities. And then once we develop a bond with people, they see our moon signs. And Aries are extremely extroverted and outgoing and crazy. And I will be that lunatic, impulsive monster. But you got to get past my Capricorn layer.
I got past that. It makes me so happy I got past the Capricorn layer.
You totally did. It's because you're easy to love. It's because you're easy. Well, Aries moons fall in love quickly. So
I think I'm an Aries moon. I'm going to have to check it out and take the Okay, that class is psychic astrology. And again, you are at rainbowglitterstar.com, and the astrology is at Paranormal School?
The Haunted Diary Paranormal School.
Haunted Diary Paranormal School. Okay, but they can find you at rainbowglitterstar.com. Renee, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to hang with you again. I hear a whisper that we might be at a seance. And
I hear there's going to be a seance. Yeah, I'm excited.
And everybody check out her astrology class. Go to rainbowglitterstar.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's such a joy to talk to you all the time. And if anyone does want to get the daily astrology of what's going on, my podcast, Instagram at the Glittercast, I do break down the daily transits so you know what energy you're dealing with. And then my podcast, The Glittercast, has a lot of astrology information as well.
Perfect. Thank you, honey. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye, honey. I am here with Melissa St. Hilary, right? Did I say Hillary right?
St. Hilaire, close though.
St. Hilaire, and you would think a comedian would love any name with hilarious in the front. But I'm going to take up the first few seconds of this because you all know I've been looking for a mediumship class, went to a fabulous luncheon and met Melissa, and she was like, I teach mediumship, already signed up. Melissa, tell everybody about your class.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So the class is called Mediumship for Witches, and it's a 6-week workshop every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Pacific time on Zoom through the Green Man store in North Hollywood. And that starts on July 7th and runs through August 11th. And I realized that this podcast won't come out until after the session has started, but that's okay because all of the classes will be recorded and I will have them immediately available for you as soon as you sign up. And once you do, you'll get to join in on the last 3 classes all live. And those will be honestly the best classes because we're gearing up towards a seance for the final class. And that is going to be, that's going to be the one that I'm most excited about. I just got a spirit trumpet to share with you guys during that. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh my God. I can't wait.
Yes. And let's see. Also I wanted to say that, this is a different class than I've taught before. I've taught a lot of psychic development circles and mediumship training in the past, but this one is slightly different. And the reason why it's different is because I am including witchcraft this time. Nice. Normally I would focus on, just the psychic and mediumship exercises and explaining to you what mediumship is. And I'm going to still be doing all those things, But this one's going to be more interactive and more fun because for every class that we do, we're going to have a spell that we get to also do. Right. And the reason why I did that was because when I sat down to create this class, I sat down to just create a mediumship class, but as I was writing it out, I was like, you know what? I've been using rituals and meditations and, different things that I use for my witchcraft in my mediumship practice. And it's enhanced my abilities tremendously. But the other thing I noticed was that my mediumship has been enhancing my magic.
Oh, amazing.
Right? So I was like, okay, so I need to switch this up and teach both. And I kind of in my head, I think of it as spirit craft a little bit.
I love that name.
Right? Because the goal here is to partner with your spirits to make both your magic and your mediumship more powerful.
Wow. And this is pardon the motorcycle going by. I think my listeners are used to motorcycles and dogs. And so this class is good for anybody, for a baby medium like me, a big medium. Anybody can kind of come in and pick something up here.
Exactly. Yes. Because I'm going to be going through, the way each class will be structured. I open each class with a guided meditation. And everyone seems to love my guided meditations.
I do already, and I haven't even been to one.
Right? I know. I have one set that I'm going to be releasing soon. I don't know. Everybody loves them. So I'm going to open each one with those because it kind of just puts everybody in the right mood, Mm-hmm. And then we'll do a little lesson lecture on mediumship. That's where the beginners are going to get a lot of that information that they're looking for. But it's also good for advanced because I'm going to be bringing in the craft, the spell crafting as well. And so there may be a lot of mediums out there who've never thought about using the two to enhance each other. So there's going to be literally everything for everybody in this class.
I love that. And you know what? The other thing about it, I was just thinking, I am actually going to be flying home on the last class, but it'll be like 10 at night. So I actually will probably make it. So you folks, you can see me in this class, but this is really the one I met you and I was so focused on it. And you actually I can't even remember, but you nailed 2 or 3 things about me. Do you think anybody can be a medium?
Oh, yes, 110%. I fully believe that every single human that walks this earth has the abilities to be a medium. Spirits are all around us all the time. I saw my first spirits that I can remember when I was 3 years old. And I experienced my grandfather shortly after he passed. And it was one of those weird things where I walked in on my grandmother and she was crying in her bedroom. And, a 3-year-old innocently just asked, Grammy, why are you crying? And she turned to me and she said, because your grandfather is gone. And I pointed to the corner and said, no, he's not. He's still here.
That's so funny. And did she believe you?
She did. Yeah, she did. She stopped crying. I don't remember all the details, but I know she asked me some questions. And then after that, she never really cried over him again. And she never dated again because she felt like I was confirmation that he was still there. Wow. And right. And I think, here's the thing about mediumship though. I do believe we all have it, but I believe that just like with any ability, be it running a marathon or doing math, some of us are sort of more innately in tune with it earlier than other people, but it doesn't mean we can't all learn it,
That sounds fantastic. I know a lot of mediums that say all mediums are psychic, but all psychics are not mediums. And I'm always like, I think anybody can be anything they want.
I agree completely and totally. Yeah.
And now people that aren't necessarily going to set up a business where they're a medium, because I really want to integrate this into my readings, but people that just want to be in tune, this is great practice.
Oh, this is a wonderful practice, especially because I'm incorporating the witchy side to it. And the beauty of it, I'm going to keep each class open enough so that it doesn't matter what your witchcraft tradition is. You can come in from any school of thought. As long as you're okay with spirits, any practice will work with this.
I love this. And since I have you here, do you have any other classes that are coming up this year that people should watch for at the Green Man?
Unfortunately, I don't have any on the books right now, but you never know. Things change really quickly around here.
Yes, and you teach things. You teach so many things, but I was like, you have no idea how long I've been looking for a teacher, and I was like, there she is, right there. Excellent. Excellent.
Awesome.
And tell people a little bit. Is there anything else you can tell them about the seance and the trumpet?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a new thing. It's from the Victorian era. It was used a lot by spiritualists in the 1800s. And, the sad thing is a lot of them were gimmicks. They would like dress their kids up in all black and hide in dark places and, have them whisper through the trumpet.
Someone finally found a use for children. Good for them.
I know, right? I know. But this time we're gonna play with it. We're gonna see if we can make it supposed to smoke and do all kinds of things when spirits in the room. So it'll be a fun experiment to see what happens.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so tell everyone where they can find you because it's mostly Instagram, right?
Yes, it's mostly on Instagram. I am American Witch 13. And if you want to sign up for the class, I made a shortcut. So you can go to mediumship4witches.americanwitch13.com.
Okay, and we will have this in the show notes, folks. But remember, Melissa St. Hilarity. Wait,
you can just call me Melissa St. Hilarious. Everybody does.
I love it. And I'll say this right now, folks. I don't know that everything is going to be in order, so you may have to remember which one you want to listen to. But this is the witchcraft mediumship where you could do witchcraft mediumship with me. Yay! Isn't that scary? and real quick, Melissa, this is one of the reasons that I was even moved to take your class was you weren't like from a long line of mediums that were like, oh, I've been doing it since I was 2. Like you learned it.
Yes. Yeah. It took years of training for me to be able to sit down and do readings for people and, call in their ancestors, their spirit guides, etc. And this is something that I did see ghosts and have weird feelings as a kid, but I didn't have any control over it. And that's the key. Learning how to control these abilities really helps to unlock them. And that's what I hope to teach people.
Fantastic. Even Renee was like, Melissa has done all the research. So, folks, look in the notes if you want to take, did you call it medium? Witchy medium? My head is not on today.
That's okay. Mediumship for witches. I'm probably popping you into the astral plane just by talking to you.
I think you are. Mediumship for witches. Fantastic. Melissa, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to have you on for a full episode. And also, everybody, hope I see you in that class.
Yay.
Yay. Hey, everybody, just a quick update. I will not be at Tin Pan Alley in Cape Cod, at least not in the beginning of June. So keep your fingers crossed that I can change that announcement, or maybe even next year you'll see me there. But right now, that date has been postponed. I am restarting my psychic stand-up show at Flappers the 4th Thursday of every month, which is very exciting. And also, if you're in the LA area, you can see me headlining there July 24th. I'll keep you updated on that. Other than that, you can go to my website, karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com and book a reading or check out my videos. And hey, don't be afraid to drop me an email. I love to hear from you guys. Maybe suggest a guest, maybe tell me your favorite guest, maybe tell me to shut up. Either way, karenrontowski.com. Let's get back to the podcast. And Rachel Blue is here. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm doing pretty good.
I'm so excited to meet you guys, and I keep messing up all my phone call times and everything, so thank you for being patient.
It's okay. We can blame the planets. We can blame the moon. We can blame time zones. It's okay.
You are already my kind of girl. I love it. So Rachel, you teach a class in Reiki 1 and 2, correct?
I do. Yeah.
So beautiful. You are, tell me about, and you do it online. So tell me about anything about your class.
Yeah, so I offer it 2 ways. The main way is a 5-week journey through self-healing. I teach people how to shift their energy into a clearer vibration with the tools of Reiki and attunements to level 1 and level 2. I created this course to be a cosmic space where those that are called to be light workers can explore dynamics of energy and healing, which is a fancy way of saying that we are going to go on a journey through the entire chakra system over 5 weeks and dive deeply into personal held energies within the portals of the body, explore how they came through in your individual life and your individual story, how they're affecting your choices, how they led you to become a healer, because so many of us called to light work and helping others are because we're wounded in some way over life. And I feel that being a good healer comes from doing a deep soul healing on yourself so that when you connect with people, you are able to really hold space for their pain and trauma and their energy without being wrapped up in your energy and hitting that light worker healer burnout that can happen to so many of us when we don't know how to separate and form those really good energetic boundaries.
You know, something I love about this that you just brought up, which sometimes gets lost in becoming healers, is it's about healing yourself first.
It really is. And I ask my students not to review the first couple of weeks because it's so rough. Like when you're starting the route to the solar plexus and it's all the physical earth-based gunk, I'm like, okay, save your reviews to where we're like in the third eye and everything's feeling so high vibe and free and wonderful. And you've done all this shadow work. And it's like, okay, that's when you can review me and leave me all the 5 stars, but just wait for it in the beginning. So it can be hard, but that's why I love to pace it out. And I keep the groups fairly intimate so that it's I try to make it as safe and comfortable as an experience as I can. So that if you feel called to share what's coming through as we do this, the meditations, the practice healings on each other, because I do breakout rooms where for 5 weeks you get to practice doing distance Reiki, which I feel like was the most intimidating one. When I was learning, I waited years to do distance healing because I was like, how do I know this is real? I don't even see the person.
I know. So, I did the same thing because at first I was like, this person might think I'm just knitting or something. And you have to get used to that. So that is a great way for people to start.
Yeah. And thank you. And so that is the goal, is so that people can grow their intuitive gifts. They're getting that immediate feedback by people that are just as nervous as them with their first distance attunements and everything. And they get to learn to listen to the multifaceted bodies that they hold, the energetic, the physical, the emotional. They deepen their soul expansion. And while they're going on this soul healing journey, my hope is they're building confidence so that when they are all certified and they get the email with their certification and everything, they can go on and take clients or go on and help friends and family and continue their self-healing journey. So that is why I created this class, because I felt like I was attuned and my teacher was wonderful, but this was back in like 2013. Things were not as like open to the mystical and magical. So there wasn't this huge psychic dive in. It was just a little note at the bottom. You may get visions or something, but really it's just hold your hands and send this invisible energy. And it took me just really, I just really geek out to reading about energy. That's what I do. Like before going to bed, I'm like, let's read another chapter of another energy healing book. And I take all of my knowledge and I made it into a class so that people don't have to spend the past 10 years doing what I do.
Right. Well, you know, it's really interesting because it sounds like so much more. Not only does it sound like so much more than a Reiki class, because you probably already know this book, but I just ordered the book, The Subtle Body, which is like the encyclopedia of this stuff. But it sounds like your class, not just for light workers, it sounds like people that want to dig in and get that shadow side, which, by the way, folks, if you're not digging in, it's in your face. I just think everything is so apparent right now. So this is perfect. Even people don't want to be healers.
That's true. When I was attuned to Reiki, I did it for my own healing because I was going through a lot of physical stuff. That's my wounding. I have a lot of physical ailments and such that have plagued me through my life. So I synchronistically came across this book that was like Live the Reiki Life. And it was all about pouring Reiki into your food and into I don't know, I think it was even into your laundry or just random stuff, like Reiki, all the things.
Yes.
And I'd never heard the word before. And so I immediately was like, I need to know this. And I signed up for a class and got an attunement within a month because it was just one of those divinely led things. And
yes, and you can so highly recommend it. And I always think that's the way it starts. Like if you hadn't had physical issues, you would have never probably been drawn to this.
Yeah. And I've noticed that when people have been going through the class, even those that have been wary about connecting with the chakra system, because sometimes things like this sound like Reiki, chakras, the word light worker, all of that sounds very much almost cliche at this point where it's I don't know if I really resonate with that. But we all have energy. You don't necessarily have to go by the linear chakra system. There are ways to take the messages that are coming through because I see them as just portals. They're just portals of energy that hold your story. And I teach people how to connect and travel to the portals and see what's swimming around in there. And if there's anything that needs to be taken out, I teach how to start to sift through the energy, unwind any entanglements, and really send healing with support of spirit guides, Reiki guides, and your class and me.
I became a Reiki master, it could be 4 or 5 years ago, and I sort of put it down for a little bit. And just about a month ago, I picked it back up. And I also feel like, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like everybody is sort of has a healing thing. It's more powerful now, it seems like to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I feel like that is absolutely true. And I definitely believe people that are I'm doing something with my hands. I feel like it's Reiki. And I feel like we've just reached this vibration as a collective that people can tap into stuff. But the difference is knowing those energetic boundaries, knowing how to actually make sure you're not sending anything that's your own. You're not collecting anything of the other people or whoever you're sending your healing to. There's a lot of technicalities of protecting yourself as you
details, yes.
Yeah, connecting to the vibration. But I feel like, so many people are just naturally in tune and attuned to this. But there is just these little
more they need.
Yeah, just some guidance to trust it and to protect the energy. And also just to, if anybody's looking for a hand to hold them through the shadow work, because I did not have hands to hold me. And I think that's a lot of my calling is to really help people so they don't feel so alone when they're going through the hardships.
Excellent. So the website is rachelblue.com and Instagram is Rachel Blue?
I am Rachel Blue. Yeah.
I am Rachel Blue. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. That was terrific.
I'm so glad you had me. Thank you. I am so excited to tune into this episode and learn more.
I know. It's interesting, isn't it? Okay. Hey, everybody. So now I have Emma Catherine. I was actually going to say Emma Catherine Perfect because that's what it says on my email, but I believe that was you saying perfect. Emma Catherine from over in the UK. You have a couple of really interesting classes. Tell everyone what you teach.
Well, I do a couple of things, as you said. So one of them, which is coming up, I think at the end of summer, is I teach a course over at Gods and Radicals, and it's called Reclaiming Ourselves. And it's linked to the book that I wrote of the same name. And it's just really about ways in which we can do things a little bit differently, so we're not always reliant, or we learn those things that we've perhaps forgotten, so we're not always over reliant on the capitalist system. But it's just small steps that everyone can do. So
and
it's such a really good course. I love teaching that.
I'm going to come back to that one after you talk about the other ones, because that is the one that, well, we'll come back to that one. Okay, what else?
Yeah, I also do tarot classes, and again, I've got something coming up maybe in the summer. And it's going to be, I think, a 3-week course, and we just go through the major arcana, the minor arcana, and then spreads and stuff like that. And it's just like really in depth. It's short, like 3 weeks, but it's quite in depth. And that's coming up soon, so I'm excited for that.
Fantastic. And now the mentorship one, what is that word? Obia?
Obia, yes. Yeah, I often call it Jamaican witchcraft, though it's practiced throughout the Caribbean and has its origins in West Africa. And I do an apprenticeship program. So I've currently got a group at the moment, and that lasts for around a year. It's quite a big commitment.
Wow, but I love that. I think whenever you're talking about witchcraft, it should be a big commitment, because dabbling gets you in trouble.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
Be sure you catch me ahead before you start that again, because I bet I do have a lot of people that would like to sign up for that. So I'd love to have you back on the podcast to talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be fab.
The first one, though, this one seems so amazing to me, because just lately, the word that has been making me crazy is that I don't feel free. So how tell me a little bit about what's in this class.
So it's a 4-week course. And the first week it's about, we talk about things like food security, community network, solidarity links, and mutual aid, and that kind of thing. And it's really about forming grassroots organisations that can change, that can have a direct impact on people's communities. So that one, we cover that quite heavily, and then that leads into things like natural medicines, not necessarily to replace medicine, but for common ailments, just real basic things that can really make a difference to people's lives, and that they can do at home as well, to ease symptoms of very common ailments. And I feel that's important as well, because
Yes, we're so, I just saw a thing. You can make hydrochloroquine, whatever was the pill they use now for when people have COVID. You can make it at home with orange and grapefruit rinds or something. Hydrochloroquine, that's what it is. So I love that, because, I'm actually probably going to, if it's okay, well, I guess it's okay, you're on my podcast. I was going to say, I'm going to pass your information on to my friend Jessa, because we, especially she and I and her listeners, we talk a lot about what's coming and being prepared with your own food and stuff. I bet it makes you feel so secure.
Yeah, and it's not that, you have to forsake everything. It's just relearning those basic skills. And then once you've got them, you don't ever lose them. And I feel it's just really important. It's just an extra layer of security, really, isn't it? One less thing you have to worry about. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I'm all set up with my Berkey water filters here, so I'm half ready. But so now tell me a little bit about the magic about the mentorship program for a year, because that is a long commitment, but I bet that is fascinating.
Yeah, it's a long commitment, because it really has to be. It's not something that, you can really teach over a few weeks, and it's just a big commitment, because it's not just a magical system. Beer is like it's very much a spirit work practice, and so it takes a lot of time building relationships with spirit and all of that kind of thing. But yeah, so all of that kind of stuff takes a long time to really, because it's not so much me teaching. Of course, I'm passing on knowledge, but it's also about, giving people the skills to develop their own practice and make it, unique to them, rather than just learning something by rote that somebody else has come up with.
Right.
So it's quite, yeah.
And were you brought up with this? Did you feel drawn to it? Because I've never heard of it, which I guess I haven't heard of all. That would be ridiculous to think I've heard of all witchcrafts. But but does it run parallel like to voodoo or regular witchcraft? Or it sounds like it's so fascinating with all the different spirits.
Yeah. It often does get conflated with voodoo, but it's really not. Voodoo is something separate and distinct. So I'm mixed race, and my mum is white English, and my dad is Jamaican, and so that's what always got me interested into it. That link to Jamaica and that side of my heritage. So that's what really drove me to kind of get to learn it myself.
Now, do you think? I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh no, go on, carry on.
I sat down with a cup of coffee and I was running when I got here anyway, so I appreciate your patience with me. I always feel like too, when you have sort of that ancestral connection, or that is like, I'm a mutt, I'm just everything, so I don't really have any particular connection. I think does it make it stronger sometimes?
I don't know. I mean, I guess so. But then I suppose anyone's connection, if it's genuine to what, their practice, I suppose they would say that, it's no less stronger than theirs. So I guess that's quite subjective. But it definitely doesn't, hinder anything. So I always see it as a positive.
That's fantastic. And do you do readings and such?
Yes, so I do tarot readings, and I also do shell divination.
Now, you have to let me know if you teach a class in shell divination, because I was told I'm supposed to be reading stones and bones, and then the woman said, well, probably not so much bones, because that makes people nervous when you're sitting around with a handful of dry bones. So if you teach a class in that, I would love to. All right, so you can tell everyone where they can find you.
So they can find me. My website is just www.emmakarenwildwitchcraft.com, or you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at Emma Catherine Wild Witch.
And also, do some of your classes are they on Zoom, or because I have listeners are all over the world, but for my Americans that I have so many, do they take your classes online, or are they recorded?
Yeah, so for the Gods and Radicals classes, which is the Reclaiming Ourselves course, that one we use Discord, and then there is some Zoom conversations as well. And the mentorship program is Zoom. Sometimes we use a combination of both Discord and Zoom, depending on the class itself, or if it's just a one-off workshop. But yeah.
Fantastic. And yes, I think a lot of people over here, that Reclaiming Ourselves, that is a great idea right now before it's too late. Can you tell I'm a little pessimistic about the United States right now? Well, thank you so much, Emma. Everyone, hopefully I can get Emma to come back on for a full episode. And that is EmmaCatherineWildWitchcraft.com. It'll be in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Psychic teas, spelled with a Z, are scrumptious herbal combinations with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Without sugar or caffeine, psychic teas won't mess with any medications and are designed by a naturopathic doctor. Many testify to positive results. Detox chakras and psychic tea blends enable bodily functions with superior efficacy, while more love and champagne blends support awareness of subtle joy and bliss. The CBD's teas are magical with myriad myriad healing effects. There are 20 servings per package. A little dab'll do ya, and you can drink it hot or cold. Psychic teas taste so good. Replace coffee, use as a bedtime ritual, or even flavor a meal or dessert. The people behind the product are righteous and kind. Psychic teas will blow your mind. Totally worth the investment. Psychic Teas with a Z.com.
Okay, so now I have Ashley from Seeking Divine Serendipity. And Ashley, someone text messaged me last week, one of my clients, and they said, I'm looking for do you understand soul reading or a karmic reading? And she didn't quite know what she wanted. And I went to your website and I was like, I sent her your website and I was like, this woman is using exactly the same words you were that I couldn't put together. So nice to have you here, Ashley. It looks like you give all kinds of fascinating readings. And what do you teach for my listeners?
Hi, thank you for having me. So we really focus on helping people that are stuck in their spiritual journey. So I am an Akashic Records practitioner and a life coach. So I use the Akashic Records to help really just get into the meat and potatoes of what's going on energetically. I have a lot of clients that have tried therapy and they just get stuck.
Yep.
They know what the problems are, but they don't know how to break out of it. So pulling up the records, I can find those karmic blocks and restrictions, and then we can get really clear on what they're actually doing. Right? Mm-hmm. Because we often forget that we have to change the level of action. And I see a lot of new spiritual seekers and they get stuck on affirmations and changing the mindset, but they don't actually do anything differently. And a lot of times it's those subconscious behaviors when you're on autopilot that are really getting you. Mm-hmm. So in my coaching program, I work with my clients to help find those things. And then we kind of track their progress along the way to make sure that, that they're taking the appropriate, authentic actions instead of just doing a new thing, but it's the same thing, just a different way.
I beyond love this, and I'll tell you why. A couple of reasons. So my therapist is psychic, and ignore the motorcycles that go by my house. If you're hearing strange noise in the background, I think regular therapy is done. I think it has to have something like this in, and even from my own experience, it was through a shaman, but she went back to another life and removed a program. And this was about 6 months ago. And right now it seems like today I woke up and I was like, that's cleared. So using the Akashic Records, I think is really it's brilliant to add that to life coaching. It's the piece that we can't see and we can't figure out, right?
It is. It absolutely is.
So now, do you teach that kind of stuff too, like how to do the Akashic Records, or did that come naturally to you?
No, I actually certified under Andrea Hess, her soul realignment program, and it's been the most in-depth, phenomenal course ever. Her frame of reference is just unsurpassed, to put it mildly. And I've studied different psychic modalities and all the tools. I have so many tools. I'm the fixer, right? Uh-huh. And I've never been able to find, a good, thorough approach to understanding what's within the Akashic Records. And I mean, I've tried different modalities too, and I have the same problem. I need that left brain satisfied so that I can really trust and lean into my intuition.
That is a great way to put it. Left brain satisfied. So people come to you instead of therapy, sort of? Do they buy a package? Do they go for a year, a couple months?
So right now, I am reformatting my website. So forgive me if it's a little disorganized.
It looked great a few minutes ago.
It looks pretty. It's just not as functional and organized, unfortunately. So we do spirit guided readings. We do this in-depth soul profiles, right, where I just deep dive into your Akashic Records. And it takes me about an hour and a half in conversation with the client to explain, what these are, how they show up, what happened, in that giving you like that quick life plot, right? And so we do all that. And then from there, if you've done the in-depth profile, and, I think that, and I get the feeling that you can really benefit from working one-on-one, because some people are go-getters, they don't need that constant support and, the assistance to really get clear on and expand their awareness on where those things are showing up. But some people really need that support. So I'll extend the offer, and it's hidden right now under the programs and subscriptions, I think is what it's called. And it's called Map to Success.
Excellent. And we'll have your website up so that everyone can go there and maybe send an email if they're looking for something they can't find right away. So when do you find soul retrieval very different from Akashic Records, or just along the same lines?
So within the Akashic Records, I do look at soul loss, and we do have a way to essentially retrieve that segment of the soul that, you kind of kick to the curb, if you will. It's like an energetic amputation, right?
That's
so when we
interesting thing I've never heard, because I was just going to say, what would cause that? Would be a part of ourselves we don't like, a part of ourselves we think we're shaming?
Yes, absolutely. So what happens is we experience something really traumatic, and, we're divine beings. We're responsible for our experiences. And I mean, I know if you've had a rough life like me, that sounds a bit harsh at first until you kind of come to terms with it. But we attract those experiences into our lives. And when you face something that's really traumatic, and you go into that extreme denial, it's like burying your head in the sand. Yeah. And you essentially just kind of cut out that part of your soul that you think is responsible for pulling that in, trying to just disregard it. But what happens is you end up not being able to completely manifest. So I always use this example with my clients. It's like you're trying to manifest $100 and you get 80.
That's perfect analogy. Wow. So like when people have blocks in their childhood, same sort of thing?
Yes. So often what I've seen is it's very much a snowball effort, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a pattern that happened 9 lifetimes ago, and that makes you more susceptible to additional patterns because we're living it every single lifetime subsequently, right? So 9 lifetimes, 8 lifetimes, 7 lifetimes, 6 lifetimes, so on. And what happens is you might not make new choices that are incongruent to your authentic self, your divine being self. In say the 8th lifetime, but 7th lifetime comes up, there's another situation. And on top of those patterns that you were already playing into and already living, you make another choice that goes just completely against who you are. And so it just kind of compounds and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. It actually alerted so many questions in my mind. Would that be like where you can't take, say in relationships where you can't stop the same type person? I keep getting the same type person, or I keep ending up with the same person. One of those two, where you just can't break that loop.
Yes. And often those are, and I'm speaking from experience because I found it, I had it in my record, and I was like, that's it. It's a soulmate contract, but this is a negative soulmate contract, right? So it's when you buy into those toxic beliefs around relationships, where my happiness is solely based off of your happiness. Or, you buy into that idea that to love is to overcome struggles. Right. And you really get into that. So like you're constantly having to overcome one obstacle after the other. If those obstacles were just to magically disappear, you and your partner are going to be looking at each other like, who are you and what are we doing?
I love that so much. There's I just heard the greatest affirmation, which fits with that, except that we may need you to help us figure out the blocks. But it was, the person I seek also seeks me, and I remove all blocks between us. So that's kind of what you do.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Tell everyone where they can find you with your website that you think is messy that I loved.
So you can find us at www.seekingdivineserendipity. So divine is DIVINE, and then serendipity. Yeah, just Google it. I'm gonna mess it up trying to spell it on the spot.
we will have it in the show notes.
Yes.
So that's fantastic.
We're also on Facebook. So keep an eye out. If you aren't on the website, I would definitely encourage y'all to like and follow, because we're going to be launching a 6-week or 12-week program class really, really soon. And it's going to really help all those new spiritual seekers really get clear on who they are and where their healing needs to happen. And really connect like much, much deeper. My partner Robin's leading that one, and we've been working together to develop it. So fantastic. I would say within the next 30 days, it'll be there.
Ashley from Seeking Divine Serendipity, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Have a great day.
You too.
So now I am with Lindsay, and please say your last name, because you know I'm dying to say Panda.
You're so close. So that's the nickname, but it's Pandia. So
both are
my
awesome.
Married name. Yeah, it is.
You must have thought it was so cute when you heard your husband's last name was Pandia.
I did. And then like they've got just pandas everywhere. So it's just apropos for the whole entire thing. And they're all cute and cuddly. So it's great.
It's all good. So you do sort of awakening coaching, teaching. Tell me what you do, Lindsay.
So by trade, I am a licensed psychologist, but as you've kind of been hinting towards lately in your podcast, like therapy isn't enough. Like it's just not hitting the mark anymore. Hasn't been for a long time. And through my own spiritual awakening, I did a whole bunch of interesting spiritual classes, and finally one day decided, somehow I'm going to blend the two together. Now I cannot provide therapy outside of California, but I do provide one-on-one coaching sessions to help people mostly through a lot of trauma work. So we'll do soul retrieval work, inner child work, which is amazing. My clients love that. But a lot of it is based around traumas. Just sort of how I conceptualize people is that we're all walking around with either little T traumas or big T traumas and everything in between. But that the trauma and the shadow work is where we learn our medicine. And this is how I feel like I can teach people to really open up to their own spiritual calling, because either people are afraid when they're spiritual awakening that they're going crazy. And with my mental health background, people feel like, oh, well, she would know if I'm actually going crazy. And,
yes,
somewhat. And then with that, it's not only that, having the mental health background and people kind of feeling free to know that they're not crazy when they're going through spiritual awakenings, but by unpacking traumas and releasing those fears, it actually opens them up to their spiritual abilities to actually be able to come through. Because often in the first parts of spiritual awakening, people are so freaked out that they just shut it all off because they're like, oh, hell no. So I feel like with my work, I help people to open back up, feel confident and comfortable, utilize their tools. I can teach them a lot of different tools to work on to tap into their psychic abilities to channel, whatever is their calling. But really what I do is I look at traumas as our own personal medicine. So whatever traumas we have gone through ourselves actually becomes what we offer everyone else to get through their traumas. So I believe that we, especially as, light workers and healers, we've chosen to come through this life to go through these traumatic experiences so that we can learn how to get through it and then carry that gift on to others so that others don't have to suffer as much. So with my traumas that I've gone through, I'm grateful for each of them because I see it play out so well in the work that I do, both in therapy and in coaching. So
that's amazing. I think that's the same thing. I constantly use this metaphor, but it was, I interviewed a kitchen witch who was allergic to everything as a kid. And she was like, isn't that interesting? And I was like, no, that's perfect. They wanted you to focus on food. Whoever wanted you to focus on food. So I love that, like sort of your trauma turns into kind of your superpower, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's 100% how I see it. And that's how I tell people, even in like with mental health disorders, it's like, okay, you may have depression, but you also now have a superpower. So we just need to figure out how to work those two so that you know how to use it for you and that it doesn't cripple you anymore. So I love that.
And I feel like, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but when someone gets a diagnosis, which could be, you know, ADHD or bipolar or I'm this or that, I always feel like I get nervous that they're just going to relax into that, because I know so many people that use those as excuses. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't do that because I'm ADHD. And it's like, well, hold on a second. I mean, people can work their way out of some of those labels. I know some of them are chemistry, but some of them they can work out of, can't they?
Yes, I do believe so too. And I'm reworking my concept from the book learning of all my decades in the mental health field and all of that sort of entrenched belief. And I'm trying to work my way out of that, because I do genuinely believe that mental health illnesses, aside from the ones where I think people have a soul contract where they come in to be severely mentally ill to teach others compassion or love or selflessness or something, right? Aside from those cases, I feel like everything is actually just a spiritual, it's actually a spiritual component. So I'm actually doing a lot of that in my therapy work, is reworking the way that we think about it so that people, like you said, don't just use it as an excuse, but that they can find their power within whatever that disorder is. But I hate labels, because I feel like as soon as you slap it on, people go, oh, yep, I'm damaged goods. And it's like, no, you're not, man.
Yeah.
It explains something so that you feel like there is a reason why you're experiencing this, but then we can't stop there. That's just a piece of it. We have to then go deeper.
Yeah, there's a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And they the guy that's so popular now, Joe Dispenza, talking about how your thoughts change your chemistry. You know,
yep.
I like, especially, those motorcycles go by every time I start a podcast, a motorcycle. I feel like those are, you know, it's harder for some than others, but it's like even antidepressants, that I'm good with them as long as you got a deadline. You know what I mean? As long as it's not the rest of your life. This is a kind of a weird question, but somebody just told me I should be doing inner child work. I think that is something that sounds like, oh, you just go hug your inner child. There's more to it, isn't there?
Yeah. And I love inner child work, and I've yet to meet a client that doesn't love it too. It is more than just going in to hug your inner child. And I think that the best way to do it is with somebody that knows what they're doing, so that you don't accidentally go in and then re-trigger yourself. Because the way I do inner child work is two different ways for right now. One is we go in and we talk to that child version of whatever emotion or behavior or thought pattern is coming up that isn't working anymore. And we go into that age of when that was started. And then we figure out what the kid needs, which is great. The other way that I do it is actually kind of like timeline jumping. We go into that age, we look at a traumatic experience, and after time and certain processes, we go in and we actually rewrite that entire scene so that cellularly, spiritually, emotionally, it reverberates forward into the current present state. And then the emotional grip around whatever is going on is kind of dissolved through that. So I think you can do some versions of that on your own, but I think it's better when you've got somebody that can walk you through it, because either they can take you to the point a little bit further than maybe you think is comfortable, or they can stop you before you're about to be traumatized, because we don't need to relive the trauma. We get to stop right before the emotional experience and then work it that way. And it's really nice when you've got somebody there that can hold you both in the astral space where it's done and also in the physical space, and then can process what happened. What did you see and how do you feel now? And how does this change the way you see your problem now? So it's inner child work. Everyone should be doing it because we all have stuff to work through. But if you can find somebody that that can do that for you, it would be great.
Fantastic. And where can everybody find you?
So my email is intuitive.psych.111 and my website is intuitivepsych.com.
Fantastic. It'll be in the show notes. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And that's terrific. I'd love to talk to you again.
I would love to talk to you guys again. And this is such a blessing. I appreciate it.
You got it. Okay, we'll be right back, folks. Yay, I get to talk to Abigail Moss again. Good for me. Lucky me. Ladies and gentlemen, you went nuts for her on her episode that just played, I think, last month. Abigail Moss is back to tell us, Abigail, what classes, tell the folks, the good folks, the classes that you offer and the mentorships.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. It's such a treat to talk with you again. So what I offer, my class is I offer a 6-month Sacred Journey mentorship program, and that's all about coming into healing and awakening to your deeper purpose, to your calling, and sharing your gifts with the world. I also do extended integrated healing coach certifications for those who really want to help others in this powerful way, where I essentially teach you how to do what I do in your own way. And that's kind of the core of what I do. I also do one-on-one work with people where I help them really quickly kind of heal and connect with their purpose and share their gifts with the world.
So now, when you were on last time, did we talk about the integrated healing class? Because I don't remember that, and it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. We didn't. Well, I mean, yes and no. So I always start with the 6-month mentorship because that's just like this powerful foundation. And then it extends into another 6 months to do the certification class. And so it's the mentorship gives you this deep connection with your intuition, with your higher self, with your guides, with your vision and your purpose. And then we just really refine the tools and practice them and get really clear on building a business and marketing all that in a way that feels aligned for your soul, and also working with your intuition and your visioning abilities to get clarity on how to create the right one for you.
And that business part is so hard.
Yeah, it can be.
So that's the whole thing together. That's really fantastic. So when people start the mentorship, which I think we might be timed off a little bit, we might be a little late. Can they get in late or?
Yes. Yeah, they can get in late. So we're going to be starting later in July, like towards around the 3rd week of July area. So if you hear this and you want to hop in and you weren't able to attend the first class, you can still come and you can watch the replay and just pick up right on the next one.
Oh, that's great, because this is coming out July 23rd.
Yeah, perfect. So absolutely, you can still jump in,
and they can go back and listen to the episode that you and I did that so many people loved. And you were referred to me by Jessica from Jessica and Oscar, Jessica Gillis. So that's a pretty heavy referral. She's as good as it gets. She really says you taught her everything.
Yeah, she was, it all started because of her. She asked me to teach her. And so I created this course for her. And now I'm teaching several women. It's just been a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah. So
I'm so grateful for her.
Yeah, she's pretty phenomenal. I have a reading booked with her. Oscar
beautiful.
Let me in. So when people, when they come to you, are they usually, like if somebody's just, I feel like we keep starting things as human beings. We don't start until we're like, man, this is just killing me. I'm so depressed, or the trauma or whatever. Do you help a lot of people who kind of feel like they hit the awakening and they just can't find their way out? Or is this just anybody else?
Yeah. I mean, everyone is welcome, but this is especially for people who, you know, if you just feel like what you've been doing is not as fulfilling anymore and there's something calling you and you know there's more out there, but you just can't quite reach it. And you feel a lot, you feel a lot going on in the world. You're sensitive to all that emotion and you're not sure how to regulate all of that inside of yourself and how to ground. And maybe thoughts come up and say, am I even crazy? And no, you're not. going through an awakening is very healthy, but it doesn't always feel good when you're in it.
No, it doesn't. In fact, you know what? This is a weird question. I hope this doesn't throw you on the spot. But can you describe awakenings? Like, is everyone's different? Does it usually start with feeling disconnected from everyone or just lost? Or that, I still love that phrase, dark night of the soul, where one thing has ended and another hasn't begun and you're just sort of hanging there.
Yeah, I love that question. And it is different for everyone. You know, there's some people, some spiritual leaders like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie, it was boom, it happened like that in an instant. And then they were kind of incapacitated for 2 years as they learned how to find balance. But for most of us, we have these moments of awakening where we have this heightened clarity and understanding and connectedness. And then we kind of slip back into our normal personality and our normal lives and thought patterns. And so we kind of weave in and out of that for a while, getting closer and closer to this kind of clarity of who we truly are and our place in life and what we're doing here. But that weaving in and out, it part of that is dealing with all of the stuff that we've experienced, the traumas, the beliefs that we get indoctrinated with growing up. And so it can kind of manifest as feeling like, you know, you're alone, you're different, you don't understand, because our society, our popular society, and I love that you offer this podcast, Karen, popular society hasn't given space for the awakening journey. And so we don't understand what's happening a lot of the time, but really it's a really powerful, beautiful process of unfolding, just needs support and guidance to make it that.
Yeah, because you know what, too, it's very interesting that you said how sometimes, like Eckhart Tolle and those, you know, they kind of had it all happen at once. I keep finding people who are suddenly psychic, or even the harder one is suddenly empathic, because that isn't. Empaths there isn't like a solid, like you can tell me, I knew this was going to happen, and that's a solid story, but empaths can't seem to put that into words. It's more, it's just like, I don't feel good all of a sudden, you know, and you kind of, well, is it about the people around you? Or that must be a huge one when people come in.
Oh, yeah. Well said. And it's so true, because you don't realize necessarily that all the stuff that you're feeling is a lot of it may not be yours. And it's really big and it's really powerful. And it's kind of, you know, I kind of consider that like the heart awakening, like awakening to all of the emotion around you. And it just moves through you. And a lot of people who are healers and guides and leaders, you know, doing this kind of work, we're sensitive. So our nervous system is more sensitive. We're taking more in. And so that's where having tools to regulate your emotion, to clear that out, to get really strong boundaries, to recognize what's yours and what's not, and to let go of what's not serving you is so crucial, because it can get really overwhelming.
Yeah. You know, have you written a book, or do you write a blog?
I plan to write a book. It's very intuitive. I have not yet, but I have a blog that I have some posts on that I've been itching to come back to.
Because you just really explain things fantastic. Like
thank you.
You're a master of words. I guess I'm a master of funny words, of jokes. Or I hope. Maybe I'm the only one thinking.
You are.
Thank you. But all right, always great to talk to you. Your website, mindbodyfree.com.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, it's always good to talk to you too, Karen. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and I think I'm trying to go. I forgot to set my timer. I keep forgetting to set my timer, and then I always say goodbye, and everyone's going to think the episode's over. But but definitely, folks, if you did not hear the episode with Abigail, please go back. You're going to love it, and it's always great to talk to you. Mindbodyfree.com, mentorship. Talk to her. Look what. Tell her. Send her an email. It's time to write a book.
It's next on my agenda, actually. So thank you, my dear.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everybody, hang on. I'll be right back. Okay, now we're talking to Jessica, my favorite woods witch. Jessica is trying not to melt in the heat. Darling, how are you up there in the Northwest?
I am wonderful. I'm just kind of trying to hunker down a bit and do indoor things on the hottest 2 days of the year.
I know. And we're not, actually, everybody knows I tape early, so we're not even in July. And it's terrible.
It's so early. And I mean, I'm trying to be happy because my garden is so excited about this. So we're getting early vegetables and stuff. So I'll take what I can get.
Yes, as the Armageddon comes, you have early vegetables. That's good.
Exactly.
So now I know you teach. I believe you teach a bunch of stuff. And folks, Jessica was on my podcast. It was before 2020. I think it was 20 or before 2021. Or was it 20? I think it was 2020.
I think it was in 2020. So yes, it was. I think it was around last, because we talked about the riots in Portland.
Yeah. So okay.
Riots.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she has a prior episode you should go listen to. But Jessica, tell everybody what you offer for classes.
Awesome. I teach this class called the Keystone course that I developed. And it's a foundational class in ritual. And so what I do is I help people develop their own personal practice. And so this is done through developing good habits and kind of identifying some of our unhelpful habits so we can replace them with good habits. We do meditation, journey work. And so it's in a class form. Very small, 10 or less people. And then I meet once a month with people individually. So if they have any questions on what's happening in the class, we can work it out together.
Great. So when you say ritual, it's is it witchcraft, or is that a good word, or it's more?
It's more, it's a foundational level course for a lot of different kinds of things. So if you're interested in witchcraft, it's great because it is the foundation for really learning how to contact spirit. So to get really in a good space for feeling your own energy and then feeling other energies around you. So it's great for witchcraft. But I have taught people that aren't witches and aren't really interested in witchcraft too. So it's also super good for getting in touch with our own personal energy and our own personal spirit.
Nice. So, you know what? This is a weird label to put on it, but it all sounds very calming.
Yes. I mean, hopefully it's because it's really hard to make good decisions when we're constantly living in reaction. So it's about habitually doing things that bring that, for me, what feels frenetic energy back down. And so, which is a good little topic here for this because it is based on grounding. And so doing grounding meditation and exercises, and then it builds from there. So it's, every other week there is a class, and then we have homework, and we just build habits together for 3 months.
Homework. No, that sounds great to me. I actually love when there's homework. But that, grounding right now, unbelievably important. And I don't know, maybe you have a different take on this, but I feel like everyone's getting sensitivity. As a lot of people I read for, the card comes right up, that 8 of Cups, that instant oversensitivity, that really grounding is the way to I was going to say to kill that, but that's not what I mean. Grounding is the way to deal with that, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really getting connected to the earth and to kind of allowing yourself to be the center of what is important to you. So every day you are really grounding yourself. So you know where north, east, west, and south is according to you. You don't need the news to tell you what is north, east, west, and south. You do it for yourself every day. And you can see what is objectively true in your own life and work with that.
Wow. I'm reading this book called Angels and Archangels, and the guy's name is Damien. Everybody knows him but me. I can't remember his last name, but he was
Eccles.
Yes, the guy that was falsely imprisoned, and he was doing archangel magic while he was in prison. Yes, and there's something that he said the other day in the book, because obviously I listened to it. Otherwise, he was here at my house telling me the book. But he was talking about how the more present you are in your life, the more powerful you are, which interpretation is the more grounded you are. Because, I mean, we all have different escapisms. They don't have to be alcohol. They can be daydreams or exercising too much. Not saying that's me, but it might be. But isn't that where that presence and grounding comes in to help?
Absolutely. It's so important. And it's something that a lot of us never learn, and we never practice. And the more that you practice, the more that it just becomes your habit. And then it is you noticing where you are in the world. And it is definitely living in a present moment, because so many of us are used to living in anxiety, right? In the future, what are we going to do when this happens? And what are we going to do when that happens? And of course, we should still always be preparing for what we're going to do, but not at the expense of like living in cyclical thoughts about what might come next, when there's plenty of space for us to be in what we're in now, even if we don't like it, which is, I mean, I must say that some of the class, that's the kind of stuff I say, and it can be annoying at first to hear those things. Like, there are some things that we can do to get more grounded and to more into our own space.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I like about you is it's not that you don't sugarcoat it, but you, how would I say that? You give the full picture. Like, yeah, this doesn't feel great, but we're going to do it. Kind of thing.
We need to be practical about it, right? Because some of us, the universe is so amazing and so cool, and it feels really, when you start getting really into yourself and then into the connections with the earth and the universe around you, it is giving you some more joy to have in your life. So we are creating time and creating joy in our own lives just by simply existing, which is amazing.
That's great. That sounds like that would shut a lot of negative talk down.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So where does everybody find you?
My website is ancientwoodswitch.com, so everybody can go and check there. I do have an Instagram account, but I can't remember the last time I used it, so I keep it up there so people can use the link tree. So definitely just hit up my website, ancientwoodswitch.com, and when my class gets filled up, I just do it every couple months because it's fun. List. I love it. Yes, get on my list.
Get on the email list and go back and listen to Jessica's episode if you haven't. And my goodness, thanks for coming on. Stay cool up there, darling.
I will. I'm glad that you're over it. And now I think each of us in this country is going to have a couple days of like ridiculous 100-degree weather. So it's my turn and I'm going to be fine.
Yes, it's like a giant monster that's just slowly stepping across the United States. So
thank you so much for having me, Karen.
Anytime, my dear. All right, folks, we'll be right back. You guys have something phenomenal. I have a man. This time, one of my favorite things in the world. You may have seen Brian Kukan. I like it. I sounded French when I said that. We did a Facebook Live. You guys had a blast with it. Brian, tell everybody. I can't say enough. I love numerology so much. Tell us about your numerology class.
Hi, Karen. Yeah, my numerology class is a lot of fun, especially when you're introducing people to numbers. I mean, that's my background. I was a math teacher, so gotta love the numbers and then get into the spiritual woo-woo of it. Wait, what? There's personalities with numbers? So you get to learn the different personalities of the numbers. There's 9 single-digit numbers, so they all have a different personality. I like to tell a little story of how the personalities develop through evolution, which is a way that you can help to memorize the different personalities of the numbers. And then we go through and teach everybody how to get from their birthday and from their name and how it tells you about your life path and how you view yourself, how other people view you. And you really learn yourself through this method of numerology. And so everybody's getting to do it. And as you're learning and doing your numbers, you then understand how to find the numbers of the people that you know, family and friends. And I encourage everybody after the class to start calculating and figuring out the numbers of their family and their friends and get to understand them at a deeper level because now you have this understanding of these numbers and how they play out, and you already know these people. And when you put the numbers together, it's like mind blowing. It's like, wait, what? You understand people at such a deeper level. These friends that you've known your whole lifetime, you're like, oh, that's why you do things this way, or that's why you always want to do that. And then understanding them, you're then understanding yourself even more, because you're making sense of these numbers. And then we go beyond that and start seeing how these patterns show up in your life. So you have this life path number that you get from your birthday. So that's kind of the main energy of your numerology chart. But then each year, you kind of have a new energy that you're flowing with. And life flows in cycles. We know we have the seasons, and each year has its different cycles, but then you have the moon cycle. And so numerology travels in cycles from birthday to birthday as well. So you can look at the theme of a particular year and go, oh, maybe it's this year I'm going to focus on doing this, or this year maybe it's a little bit more of that. And you can reflect back on previous years and go, oh, that's why these things were happening last year or 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, you can do that if you have a memory. I have no memory of what happened.
Well, I had speaking of that, I had a Tantra teacher once. She's like, it's one of the things when you're just living in the present, you become very forgetful because you just let go of the past.
I love that. I wish I could claim to be that woke. Here is another thing, because anybody that's had a reading with me knows I always do the personal year. And in fact, I just want to say this before I feel like this class is a must, and I'll tell you why. It is so simple and yet complex and yet helpful, and I mean even to the number of your house. Correct?
Right. Yeah, you can do your house address, including some schools do just the numerical address. Some include the street, but you can find numbers. And I've been working with someone doing numerology for their business. You can look at the name of the business, how that kind of the personality of the business, and how people will interact with it in that way. So you can get pretty deep in the weeds with this kind of stuff. We'll not go too deep. This will be like an introductory class. But numerology, you can get a lot from it, just to kind of get rid of, a lot of the wording and things, and just break it down to simple structures and go, oh, okay, there's the personality that pops through.
And I literally, like, when I sometimes if somebody's like, I want to know my future, or I'm sitting on an airplane, I will simply do the year they're in. It is my favorite thing because it is unbelievably accurate. And you go into chakras. You've even taught me what color I was supposed to be wearing on what day. If I know what day it is, I can do that.
Yeah, that's so yeah, it starts around that personal year number that you do with your clients. So we go through that process, and then you can whittle down into each month. We'll have a theme for the year, and then whittle down. You can get down to the exact day and what the theme of that day, and based on that number, we associate it with a particular color, and those kind of go along the chakra system. And so then with the personalities of the numbers, you have an energy and a kind of intention for each day, so that you can live in the flow of the energy of that day, and that universal flow for you, instead of just living like unintentional. You can be a little bit more conscious in your choice of colors in your outfit, or what crystals or stones you want to wear or carry around with you that day, or what affirmations you want to work with to be in the flow of that personal energy that you have. And
the tarot is directly connected to numerology. Just like many things. And also it's one, is it one class, Brian? It's all in one, or is it two?
Yeah, we have one class that I set up right now where you get to learn your personal numbers, and then the yearly cycles and days and things like that.
This one is a no-brainer, folks. Do this one because it's such a basis. In fact, I fall back on numerology more often than not more often than tarot, because that's what I do for a living. But it's so to be able to assess somebody right away. I really think it's all about judgment, Brian. That's what I think. You should be judging others. There's no reason to be racist when you can judge someone by their numbers. That's what I think.
I mean, that's it. Some numbers get along and some don't. And let's just be clear about that.
You know what I think of fives. You know.
I think you know what I think of fives. I can pick a five out in the crowd.
It's actually like we're having our own code language now.
Got to come to the class to find out about what a five is.
That's right. All right. So, and Brian, you were probably one of the first guests I had on my psychic stand-up show. So great.
That was so fun.
Yes, and we did a Facebook Live together that was fantastic. And just real quick, Brian, tell everybody about your band. We got 2 minutes. Tell about the band and where to find you.
Oh my gosh, I have a couple of different bands. So one is Dean Gallagher's band. We play some top 40 country music, and other is Sarah Winchester, and we play around Southern California in the different areas and casinos and clubs and on that country circuit. So those are the two main bands, and I play with a high school show choir program, and they go and perform. It would be nice to get back out to those competitions and get to play music with people again.
Awesome. And your website, so everybody can show up. This class is going to be in August.
That's correct. It's going to be, let me look at the calendar. I forgot the date already. August, it's a Saturday. I believe it's August 21st. That's it. August 21st at 1 p.m. You can go to my website, lareikiguide.com, and there'll be a link right there for numerology class. You can click on that and sign up for it.
There you go, folks. Like I said, this one's a basis for everything. You'd be amazed if you're like, I don't know about my psychic abilities, numerology. I am the hugest fan of numerology and Brian Kukan.
And I love that you said it's the basis for all things, because I am a bassist. So it just all works together.
All right. Thanks for letting me bother you again, Brian.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this show, and reach out to any of these people if you have questions. There's just some great stuff there. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Again, this was a podcast I thought was going to happen in a couple hours, and it took me like a week and a half to actually organize this. So let me know if you enjoyed it, or also let me know if you didn't, if you were like, get back to topics, Karen. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Everybody stay cool in the summertime.